Hi, I'm Gail and welcome back to Low Carb Recipe Ideas. Today we're going to make hamburger buns, low carb hamburger buns. Now I've taken the recipe from the Atkins recipe book and we'll check it out and see how it turns out. I've done it once before and I found them a little bit heavy, but they were still a very nice bun compared to a lot of the low carb buns I've tried out there. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is you need a pot. And I have a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. It's I've used Nielsen's whipping cream, so for a 1/4 cup. And I've got warm water, a 1/2 cup, and we'll mix them in the pot. And then I have 2 teaspoons of fast acting yeast, and we're going to put that in the pot, and we're going to bring it over and put it on the stove, and we're going to get the yeast to dissolve and get it ready to help rise our buns. So don't be concerned if it's a little bit lumpy and it looks like it's taking a bit to dissolve, because you can just put a little whisker in there and that'll help break it up. And they're saying when you're using yeast it should foam up and everything else. I've never had that happen to me. I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong, but it's all dissolved here. We're going to get it heated up. They say approximately 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and then take it off the stove. So I'll just let that warm up a little bit more, and then we will be ready to continue making our buns. Okay, I've got my milk, my heavy cream, and my water and my yeast all dissolved. So I'm just going to pour it into the mixing bowl. I better get myself a spatula. And next thing I'm going to add is I have 1 egg that I've already beaten. I'm going to add that in. Make sure we get it all out. And I have 1½ tablespoons of canola oil. So we'll pour that in. 1 tablespoon of xylitol. Now you can choose what sweetener you'd like to use. I like the xylitol. So there's 1 tablespoon of xylitol. You can use stevia. You could mix half and half. It's up to you what you want to do. And I have 1 teaspoon of sea salt, or regular salt if that's all you have. So we'll stir that up. Now I need 3/4 cup of a whole wheat flour. Now we are going to use the mixer, I just don't want it flying all over the place, so I'm just going to kind of stir it in a bit to start out. And then we also need 1¼ cup of Atkins Cuisine all-purpose mixing flour. And you can order that online. Unfortunately, it's hard to find in stores, so you can get it online, and it's just a really nice product to be using. So we're going to mix this up. Start out slow. We don't want it flying all over the place. Now, let me turn this on before you... Okay, we're going to have to take something and take them out of the beaters. There we go. Sometimes I think it's a lot easier just doing it by hand, but the instructions said use the beaters, so I use the beaters. There we go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll it into a ball, and we will put it in a bowl and let it rise. So I've taken my dough and I've rolled it into a ball. I'm just going to take my new bowl here and I just spray in the bottom with a little bit of Pam. And then we're going to take this dough, which I've rolled into the ball, and we're just going to set it in, and then I'll put some foil on top, and then I actually will set it on my oven, because my oven is a little warm, and it'll help it rise a little bit quicker. So we'll just put some foil on, or some saran wrap on top, and I will set it on the oven down by the little register at the back, and we'll let it sit there for about 30 minutes and it will rise. Okay, now I've let this sit for approximately an hour, and the last time I made this it didn't rise tremendously, and it hasn't risen a lot this time either. So now what we're going to do is I've got a little bit of my Atkins flour. I'm just going to sprinkle some on the bottom of this plastic thing that I have here. And I'm going to take out our dough, and I'm going to push it down, knead it a little bit, punch it in. We'll roll it into a log here, and we'll cut it up into 6 pieces. Okay, so we're just going to roll it into a ball and then press it down into a disc. And we'll put them on the pan. Okay, our last one. So now we're going to put some plastic over top and let it rise. So I'm going to set them back on top of the oven because there's still a little heat coming out. Cover it in plastic and let it sit. Well, I let it sit for 45 minutes and it really hasn't risen, so I'm just going to take off the plastic. We're going to put it in the oven for 13 to 15 minutes. The temperature will be 400 on the middle rack, and we'll see if they will rise and see if we end up with some hamburger buns. Now I've just taken the buns out of the oven. They didn't rise very high, so I'm just going to put them on the rack. They feel very heavy. I'm not sure what's happened. If my yeast wasn't good, I'm not sure, but I'll let them cool down and I'll slice them and we'll see what the finished product is like. So there's our Atkins buns with hamburger buns with yeast, a low carb bun. So we will check it out once it cools down. Well, my hamburger buns didn't rise this time. They are quite thin. I've already sliced them, but I actually like them when there isn't as much bread. Now, last week I made them for my first tryout, and they rose quite nicely, but there is a lot of bread in there, so I guess to me it's nicer to be thinner, but this is what they are actually supposed to look like. So I barbecued up some hamburgers, and this is what we're going to have for supper.